Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the 281st episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. And it is time. Now our rewatch begins. It is Winter is Blooming, a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast. Coming at you for the first time ever. We've got a long history of this podcast with Game of Thrones. We did a 2-episode premiere the day we released our first podcasts. And one of those was a deep dive into Game of Thrones. It was the week after the series had ended. So this is a long time coming for this podcast. It's been over 3 years since the show ended. Let's just fucking do it. Coming off of House of the Dragon. It's time. I'm Colton Robertson. I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up? Always a pleasure to be here, and it's fitting. 281 for the episode number. It is a prime number. It jumped out at me. I knew something was going on. It just makes sense for the start of
these things.
Of this
these
episode,
things just happen. They just happen. But today we are covering the first episode of the first season of Game of Thrones, titled Winter is Coming, released on April 17th, 2011. Written by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, D&D, and directed by Tim Van Patten. And Tim Van Patten, he's done a great deal of work for HBO. Specifically, a place you might have seen that name in credits is The Sopranos. He's directed many a Sopranos episode. So Tim Van Patten, well versed in the HBO world, and frankly, he kicked off this show with a bang. This was this is a rewatch podcast, which means we will talk about it in the context of knowing the entire series. Is kind of how I'm planning on doing it, making connections to anywhere throughout the series as we go. So, no, unfortunately, we are going to alienate those who have not watched it. I think that's kind of how I was going into it. If you're down for that.
Yeah, no, I think there's no way that I won't be able to just be like, oh, look at this amazing through line from season 1, episode 1 until season 7. Like something that is legitimate. Like, I don't know, there are legitimate through lines.
Like if something happens like that, we got to point it out. So if this is a first watch for you through Game of Thrones, sorry and shit. This is not the pod for you. This is a rewatch podcast. So I just wanted to give you some warning. Every episode, there will be spoilers probably for episodes later down the line. We'll be doing it in sort of a scene-by-scene format, but instead of straight up how it was portrayed on screen, we're going to take it by location. We're going to start beyond the wall, where this episode starts. We're going to head to Pentos, where we got Daenerys. After that, we'll head to King's Landing, and following that, to Winterfell. So, are you ready to kind of dive in, or you know what? Let me ask. Since this is a rewatch podcast, do you recall the first time you watched this episode of television?
Ooh, man, when that would have been. Let's see. I think I got into Game of Thrones whenever either season 4 or 5 was out. Because I believe season 6 was the first that I watched live week to week. It was either season 6 or season 5 that started. So this would have been, my best guess is when season 5 was out. Let's see. So when did season 6
Season 6 premiered April 24th, 2016.
16, okay. So yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, so 16 years old, about, I guess, or 15 even, maybe, possibly for season 5, whenever I'm watching Game of Thrones for the first time. And I don't know, I can't remember. I'm trying to remember, like, who got me into it or maybe what got me to start it. I don't really remember that exactly. I don't know.
I can assuredly tell you, I had a couple influences on me. And I didn't watch it. I caught up between season 6 and 7. I had 2 knee surgeries between season 6 and 7. Prime television viewing time.
That'll do it.
That will do it. But Trenton Moore showed me the first episode of the show back in the day. And that's not really the first interactions I had with it, because I, believe it or not, the first thing I remember watching was when it was on TV. My dad was watching it. And it was back May 31st, 2015, the Battle of Hardhome.
Shit.
I watched a part of that episode with my dad, watched Jon Snow be an absolute badass, watched the Night King raise the dead there, and went, okay, yeah, one day I'm going to watch this show. I got to see what's going on here. So Trenton showed me the first episode, and I was hooked from there. And then not only was this prime TV watching time due to the knee surgeries, but I was going to physical therapy. And because I'd started physical therapy and I had a physical therapist who was like one-on-one, he had me for an hour. I was like, we got to find some shit to talk about. I go, have you watched Game of Thrones? And he goes, oh, buddy, do I watch Game of Thrones? And I was like, oh, fuck yeah. So I was like, so I worked my way through Game of Thrones throughout physical therapy.
That's sick.
And had someone to bounce off of my thoughts and stuff. So caught up before season 7. And it was just a wonderful time. I got a soft spot in my heart for that physical therapist. Quite the guy, quite the man. But dude, yeah, I remember watching this first episode and going, yeah, well, now I'm going to watch all the rest of these episodes.
What run is this for you? Like, how many times have you watched the show in total?
All right, so I watched it in anticipation of 7, watched 7 as it came out, rewatched it between 7 and 8, rewatched it a year after 8, rewatched it a year after that with Emily. So I think this is fully past 3. But I caught up before season 7, caught up before season 8. So it's kind of like 4th full watch of the series, I think, is where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah, I think after season 8, I don't think I've touched the show. I think I might have started, but I don't think, like, I might have gotten an episode or 2 in. Like,
oh, then
so yeah,
dude, you're prime candidacy for a rewatch.
I know. I need it. Honestly,
I'm on a yearly basis right now of rewatching Game of Thrones. I just can't put it down for too long of a period of time. Like, there comes a point every year where I'm like, must be time to watch Game of Thrones, like
it's probably gonna happen again. Like, I guarantee that now that I'm watching it again, I'm gonna realize how good it is. And then I'm gonna be like, fuck, why haven't I been watching
Well, and it'll be exciting for you. Like, I'm especially excited to see how you feel about it on a rewatch, because obviously post season 8, the people in general terribly unhappy with the ending of this show. I have, since the show ended, rewatched it twice. And we've talked about this a few times. Yes, it's terribly fast. It definitely has the notes of, yep, we're getting the fuck out of here. But the actual events that unfold are not so far out of left field. So, and rewatching with the scope of, like, Bran in this episode, did you not already have a better time watching Bran?
Oh, dude, 100%. Like, I am dissecting this, like, rewatch, like almost everything. Like, I've noticed so many, like, I don't know if they're on purpose. I have no idea. But I'd assume some of these things are on purpose. They know where some of the big things are headed,
Oh, for sure.
already. But there's already so many little things that I'm just like, oh my God. Like, the show is just so beautiful knowing what happens. Like, things that would be, to a new viewer, would have zero clue or any inclination whatsoever.
Yeah.
But to I don't know, to someone who has watched the entire show, something that is not, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just like, it's very, I don't know,
Foreshadowy almost.
yeah, I'm not trying to say like heartwarmy moment. It's not like a heartwarming,
but
it's
like
just more of like a,
comparably, like compared to where the rest of the show goes, like in this episode, some of the characters we watch interact in episode 1 never interact again. Like episodes 1 and 2, like the very early couple episodes of the show, it's kind of it for this group of people being all in the same place. We don't get them together ever again, which is heartbreaking, but it makes for some pretty incredible television. So what do you say we begin? Winter is Coming, the first episode of Game
Winter
of
is
Thrones.
blooming, I would say.
Winter is blooming. So we begin beyond the wall, where we've got a few rangers of the Night's Watch, 3 of them to be exact. Sir Waymar Royce, a Royce of note. Recently we finished House of the Dragon. Daemon was married to a Royce before he smashed her head with a rock.
Oh, damn. Yeah, she was cool.
Rhea Royce.
Damn.
But we've also got a guy named Will and a guy named Jared. And they're going beyond the wall to investigate reports of wildlings in the forest, which lies to the north, beyond the wall. But Will, the best scout in the group, discovers a number of wildling corpses, dismembered and arranged in a strange and semi-ritualistic fashion on the ground. And he also finds a dead wildling girl pinned to a tree. And this marks the beginning of what would become many unanswered questions.
Still unanswered, really?
Yes. Yeah, we do not. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like,
okay.
Yeah, like
I didn't know.
No, yeah, like in general, we never really figure out why they do the things they do.
They're just creepy White Walkers and
man,
magic.
That's all it is.
Magical. It's more creepy if, like, I guess I was thinking about it, like the spiral pattern and stuff, and I'm like, well, what would I rather see? Would I rather see a bunch of dismembered body parts in a cool, really weird shape, or just like a field of dead bodies, just everywhere? And it's like,
right.
I think the meticulous shape, the time that they took to place body parts in a shape, it's almost even more creepy, than just demolish whatever.
It implies to us it's not mindless. They do this, and then they go, check this shit out.
And they like this shit. Yeah, they're like, this is their fun.
This is art.
Yeah.
So like that's one thing I'm excited for on the rewatch, is kind of watching the evolution of White Walkers too, because one of my favorite things about starting a show is watching it find its style and find the way things work. Because the White Walkers, they change a little bit over the course of the series. Like the noises that this White Walker makes here at the beginning are more growly, whereas later they do like the predator ass. They got like the clicks going on and shit.
When's the next time that the White Walkers like really start to?
Well, I know the Night King doesn't fuck around and show up until like a few seasons down the line, like 4 or 5, I feel like. And I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess it's like, this is really the only thing north of the wall
until season 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess they knew. They were like, well, we have to give some threat, and we won't deal with them for a while, so fuck it.
Well, and something I'm also going to be doing alongside this rewatch is I'm going to be listening to the audiobook of the Game of Thrones up to this point. You know, I declared that I would never read the books until George R.R. Martin would finish them as recent as 2 weeks. But then I went, I can't stop thinking about this rewatch we're about to do. I got to go ahead and get a jump start on it. I'm going to go ahead and listen to some Game of Thrones. And this is pretty honorably, like, it was cool, like, having watched this first, then reading the book and coming back and rewatching it. It's kind of a new perspective of just like, oh, this is truly an adaptation. Like, this first episode is, like, so thoroughly derived from the book. There's not a lot of liberties taken, you know, like the prologue of the book is this little mission beyond the wall. Now, obviously, this takes about 7-8 minutes beyond the wall, whereas probably was just pages and pages and pages of book, given who George R.R. Martin is.
He loves to give you detail.
Oh, he do indeed. But yeah, Will finds this array, and he heads back in a panic to Sir Waymar, and he's like, all right, well, we're not going to return to Castle Black. We got to be able to tell them how the wildlings died. Let's not fuck around like this, all right? We got shit to do. Let's get to it. This Matt Damon ripoff.
Thank you for saying it. Oh my god, I was about to say it. I literally was trying to find a way to throw in off-brand Matt Damon somewhere in here.
He is Walmart Matt Damon.
Yeah, that's all I could think. Every time I watch this, every single time, without fail.
And if you probably haven't watched Ted Lasso, but this dude Will, the guy who gets killed by Ned here in a little bit, he plays like one of the fans of the team Ted Lasso coaches, and like he's like there at the pub all the time, like woo. And then he's also actually in the Batman. He's the one who Batman beats down at the end, and he goes, "I'm vengeance."
Really, he's the one?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, that's not where I thought I recognized him from. I thought I recognized him from somewhere else though.
I mean, he's been in shit. Like, he's been in a lot of stuff.
What's his name? Do you know his real life name? What's the character's name?
The character's name is Will.
Just Will. That's
yes,
always.
And he is played by Bronson Webb.
Okay.
Bronson Webb.
Yeah, I don't know what I thought I reckoned. Maybe it's just this episode. No, yeah, Harry Potter. He's in Prisoner of Azkaban.
Gotcha.
He's a Slytherin boy, I guess. Maybe that's where I'm.
That's a Slytherin boy.
That's all. That's all that he's credited as. Rogue One.
Yeah, dude. These dudes would be like, this guy pops up everywhere. This man's in a lot of shit.
Okay.
In extremely minor roles. It's hilarious, but they go on to investigate to see the corpses, but when they reach the site, the bodies have disappeared. Looks like your dead men have gotten up and walked away. And Will's like, oh shit, oh fuck, oh shit. He's the only one who can really know that these dudes were like for sure dead, and now they are like for sure not there. That's got to be horrifying. So in a matter of minutes, and so Will goes on, scouts around for some clues, but Jared finds some bloody, I can't tell if these are clothes or innards of some sort. Either way, it's not looking good for him.
Not a good sign.
Yeah, and any further investigation is halted when a tall, blue-eyed figure rises behind Sir Waymar and cuts his head off.
Bye-bye.
In the distance, Will hears the screams. He runs and eventually finds himself in abject horror when he sees the very wildling girl he saw pinned against the tree, now with blue eyes, standing there. And then he turns to see a White Walker cut Jared's head off. Tosses the severed head at his feet. And again, interesting methodology here. Is this a tell them we're coming? Is this a just so like they clearly have thought? So interesting that they're just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. You go ahead. You little scaredy bitch.
So they've heard reports of White Walkers, though, like the Wall, right before this.
Yeah.
So they've heard. So that's the thing, though, is that whenever someone are people at the Wall even non-believers in White Walkers too at this time? Like they're like that's so fantasy, or are they like, well, it could actually be legit?
We get a little bit more with Benjen later on. When he's talking to Ned, and he's like, he was a good ranger, he was a true ranger. And Ned's like, he was talking nonsense, and Benjen was like, maybe, man, direwolf south of the Wall reports a White Walker.
You're right. Okay.
So it's like, I think the guys at the Wall are probably a little bit more inclined to buy it, but I think they are still like, yeah, that's a reach, like we would probably see them all the time if they were really a problem, instead of like these sparse reports where he's like, the two men he was with are still missing. He's like, I don't know, they definitely saw something out there. And Ned rationalizes it later on. Wildling ambush, it's nothing. But man, yeah, it's interesting, because if only there'd been a Targaryen on the throne, homie. Maybe
Literally the day. Like, it seems that the day that the last Targaryen that was on the throne, the day that they died,
they started moving.
Boom. Boom.
That's interesting. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
That they wait until there isn't a Targaryen.
Literally.
Okay. Yeah.
Winter started coming. Literally when the fire of the throne went out, I guess you could say, whenever there wasn't a dragon on the throne.
All right. I see you.
And literally on the other continent. Only Targaryens are on the other continent. So
or so it is believed. As we know, there is one in Winterfell.
Oh yes. Duh. Yeah, I guess.
You were like, what the fuck is he on about?
I was like, wait a minute. Who, huh? I was like, hold on. Okay.
Aegon. Yeah. But, from Beyond the Wall, we're going to go ahead and jump all the way over to Pentos, just to get us all acquainted with, given House of the Dragon's conclusion, it felt only right to, it felt so fucking cool to see both Viserys and Daenerys over here in Pentos across the Narrow Sea, under the hospitality of Illyrio, Magister Illyrio. I immediately saw them and was like, already just a completely new context within which to view these characters. I always knew Viserys, they were
Viserys the Third. It's just that's just cool.
That's cool shit.
Is it Rhaenyra's Viserys's kid? Is this Rhaenyra's grand? No, that'd be way. There need to be way more time.
There'd be a couple generations between.
Yeah, okay, never mind. But so I guess, but is it on that line of Viserys? Is that the Viserys line? Do you think?
I do believe that the Mad King ends up descending from Rhaenyra and Daemon. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't read a lot of the ancillary material. I'm working my way through it alongside it, so it's kind of so as to not spoil myself a whole bunch as far as House of the Dragon stuff. I'm really avoiding Fire and Blood just because I like watching it on TV. I like watching it on TV, but we shall see for sure. It'd be cool to see, but yeah, seeing them with the platinum hair and stuff, and the like. Viserys is a Targaryen. You know who he reminds me like a lot of? Is fucking Aegon, the second of his name.
You're kind of right, yeah.
Yeah, like
if he was just a little more put together, sadly. Like if Aegon would put all of his dickishness and actually used it, like this would be Aegon.
yeah,
I guess this is probably what Aegon is becoming. Actually.
Yeah, right. About the same age. You know, Viserys says later on in the episode that he's waited 17 years for his throne. So, like, I think they're both about 17, which is just interesting to see different Targaryens at roughly the same point in their life. But Viserys has arranged a wedding for his sister to Khal Drogo, the warlord of the Dothraki, 40,000 warriors strong. In return, Drogo will give Viserys the army he needs to reclaim the Iron Throne. And, just so cool that the Dothraki come up this early, and then, like, come season 8, episode 6, the finale of the show, Daenerys standing above everybody, the Dothraki going crazy below her at the base of the city. Like, this is full fucking circle, buddy. They're with her till the end of the line, like it's Cap and Bucky or some shit. But Viserys prepares Dany for this meeting, and he tells her that she's become a beautiful young woman. Tells her to stand up straight, show them what you have. Slips off her dress and fondles her breasts. And
as any brother
Targaryen,
you know,
yeah,
would do. At the great age of no, Daemon would have been older. The age gap for Daemon and Rhaenyra would have been more,
like way bigger,
right? Yeah, it's like way bigger. So that's even weirder. But like, man, it's just never gets old.
Never gets old. Never gets old. The Targaryens. This is a borderline tradition at this point. But yeah, what is interesting is that in the reading of the book alongside this, and just seeing like the small differences, there are some liberties that are taken with the show as compared to the book. Dany says in the book that she never imagined herself getting married to anyone else besides Viserys, because she was like, it's the tradition of our house. I'd always just assumed that's what was going to happen. Like, this is the reason this is such a big surprise to her, is because she always assumed she'd eventually be married to Viserys. Which, thankfully, is not the way this worked out.
No.
She goes through it here, and I have a feeling it would have been worse under Viserys.
That's true. I mean, I guess her marriage with Khal Drogo starts out definitely a little rocky.
Oh,
definitely very, very shaky.
Very bad.
Not good whatsoever. But it does turn into
a crown for a king.
Something quite good. So, I don't know. It is very weird to see Dany like in this state, like knowing how just powerful and confident and everything she gets, like seeing her.
Well, and it's interesting thinking about her inevitable descent into madness later on in the show. And that's kind of another thing that I want to be thinking about throughout the show, is how much she goes through, and how, if there is any normal person who goes through the shit that Dany goes through, they're gonna lose their mind a little bit. You know, like to first not have parents, basically be raised by your incestuous fuck of a brother, who is willing to let you be raped by 40,000 horse lords and their horses if it means he'll get his throne. You're going through it pretty much your entire life, bouncing city to city, always on the run. Like, she ain't had the best life up to this point, and it doesn't start to get good for a while. Which is interesting.
So It's through Robert's rebellion that ended the Targaryen reign, right? And allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering why, like, for a second there, I was like, wait a minute. Like, how did, like, Baratheon just claim the throne? I was like, hold on. I'm like, wait, how didn't Viserys just, how wasn't everyone in the realm just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. There's a whole war, a whole rebellion that was fought. So fair. Forgot that little detail.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah. And I would love, the more they talked about it later on in this episode, the more I was like, oh, I want to fucking see that, bro. I would just love to see that. But, yeah, after the whole fondlage, she's silent, looks away as if it's not happening. She then takes her leave and steps into a scalding hot bath. The maids nearby warn that it'll burn her, and she seems to not notice and to not be harmed. And as we know, this woman is the unburnt. She'll be just fine.
I think it was kind of cool. Like, she was getting like angry. She was getting fired up, and like Viserys was the one who was like, "You don't want to wake the dragon," but like, really,
she's like, "Yeah, you really don't."
Like it was almost like she was doing this to like cool off, and I know it's she's getting very hot, but like this is like a dragon's way of being like, I need to just chill out real quick.
Yeah,
let
me
hop in my lava pit.
Scalding pot of liquid. But yeah, no, Dany's a baddie, and I fucking love Emilia Clarke in this role. I'm so excited to just relive all of this. I'm excited. I've never thought about episode by episode my favorite scenes from every episode.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. This one's tough.
It's borderline impossible. I was watching the episode last night. Like, I have no fucking clue. So it'll be interesting. But later on in Pentos, Illyrio and Viserys discuss the quest to sail back to Westeros, and Viserys inquires when the wedding will take place, but Dany is not so pleased with the arrangement, says she has no interest in marrying Drogo. And Viserys insists that Dany will marry him, because in return, Drogo will give him the army he needs to retake the throne from Robert. And he adds that, he would let his sister be raped by all 40,000 of Drogo's men and their horses if it meant he would take the throne back. And not too long after. The sad thing
is that he says it like proudly, and he says it thinking that Daenerys would respond to it like, oh wow, you're so dedicated. Like, that's how he's almost saying it, is like, wow, that's how dedicated you are, instead of like, like
the natural disgust that should come from a comment like that.
Oh, that's how dedicated you are.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you disgusting fuck. You shouldn't rule anything. But a short time after this, Drogo arrives at Illyrio's estate, and after taking a glance at Dany on the back of his horse, Drogo rides away without dismounting his horse. I love the legend building of Khal Drogo off the rip too. The he's said to be the greatest warrior in all of the Dothraki. You see their braid; they cut it when they lose as a sign of their defeat and their shame. He's got the longest braid; it's never been cut. He's never lost a fight. Khal Drogo is a badass, and Jason Momoa also very good in the role as Khal Drogo.
I don't know. That's one bad looking dude. Like,
oh man,
off rip. He pulls up. He doesn't say a word. He literally just sits there, and I am just like, nah, like that.
Well, and then this next little comment, Dany had to have been like, "Excuse me, what?" Because Viserys is like, well, what's going on? Did he like her? And Illyrio's like, I assure you, if he did not, we would know. I was like, wait a minute, y'all were ready to just kill Daenerys if it came to that? Like, what the fuck?
I think whoever I don't know, who was their kind of, I don't even know what to call him. Yeah. I think he was the only one that knew, like, all the Dothraki tradition and everything like that. I don't think they knew whatsoever. Like, what a way to agree to a marriage, you know? Like, if this is how the Dothraki do it, they literally just stare at the woman for a little bit, and if they're like, yeah, okay, then they ride off. Then they're like, all right, see you later. I'll be back eventually. Yeah, we'll set up the wedding. I'll be back eventually. And then, but if not, it's just like, all right, I'll just kill you.
Well,
like,
what's funny is they do everything on their own time.
Yeah.
Like Illyrio's like, Viserys is like, when are they gonna ride across the Narrow Sea with me? And he's like, whenever they fucking want to, man. You wanted this. This is what you get when you're fucking with the Dothraki, okay? And that's what's awesome is Viserys has no means or ability to control the Dothraki, but later on, Daenerys has the means to lead them. And it's like, that's just a great little contradiction between the characters. But later on, it's time for the Dothraki wedding. Celebration is held. Many die. The first wedding in the first episode of Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones weddings notoriously bloody affairs. This was one of the first comments that made me think a Dothraki wedding is considered a dull affair without at least 3 deaths. Well, a Game of Thrones wedding is a dull affair without at least 3 deaths.
3 is like, that's light.
Yeah, like comparably to a lot of the weddings we see. I mean, I think that averaging it out, it would probably average to be more than 3.
Well, I guess the green wedding's only 1.
The red wedding's like 25.
Yeah, that's a good amount, and some wolves too. That sucks.
This wedding, at least 3. Much to think about. We'll have to keep a body count.
Another wedding.
There are some weddings later on. Sansa gets married to
Joffrey?
No, to Ramsay.
Oh,
way later on. Tyrion and Sansa get married.
Damn, she really goes through it.
Yeah, she really does. But nevertheless, at this wedding, they receive many a gift. But for Dany, 2 are of the utmost importance. First, she receives a selection of books containing stories and songs from the 7 kingdoms, presented to her by Sir Jorah Mormont of Bear Island. I fucking love Jorah. You know, he'll be a dude that I ride for my mans. I ride for Jorah Mormont. Yes, he's done some fuck shit in the past, but that stuff's behind him. You know, and his admiration for Daenerys, you know, it's a little creepy, but
yeah, that is a child, and he's simping. So is he the biggest simp in the show?
Yeah. Oh, like far and away. But I don't think he truly starts simping for her until he watches her walk into the fire at the end of the season.
I mean, who wouldn't though?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you watch a woman walk into a burning pyre and come out with 3 dragons. I don't know. I'm gonna follow you to the end of my life, bro. That's kind of how it's gonna go for me.
Was he the one who was sitting on the dragon eggs? Like, they came from? Did they come from him, or was that from?
They came from Illyrio. They came from the guy that was housing them.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense.
But
because I was gonna say, imagine just sitting on these 3 dragon eggs and just looking at them like, wow, what a cool thing, but pretty useless, like just hunk of just rock. Stone basically, and then like, oh, actually, there are dragons now in our world.
Yeah, that's super fucking cool. But Jorah here in this moment goes, "I served your father, and I always hope to serve the true king." Looking at Viserys, and Viserys like watching on the whole time, like, yeah, that's what I thought, homie. Yeah, that's right. It is funny that Viserys is just such a bitch, and he never appears anything less or anything more. He
This
always
Viserys
looks like a
sucks.
bitch. Yeah,
Man.
he's a top tier terrible dude in this show.
Yeah, tier list for Viserys so far. He's absolutely bottom. There's
it
no
goes
question.
Top tier, Viserys the first, second tier, Viserys the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh tier, Viserys the third.
Yeah, we don't really know what the second's been doing. We know he met Viserys the first. That's about it.
Yeah, he's a baby, and that baby is better than this guy.
Mm.
Not difficult, not a high bar to be better than this Viserys the third. But the second gift comes from Illyrio. It is a box containing 3 beautiful scaly stones. They are described to her as dragon eggs from the Shadowlands of Ashai, and they have turned to stone with the passing of time. Now this is a little interesting. Ashai.
Is that
Shadowlands of Ashai?
Where's that at?
It's a city in Essos, on the eastern shore of the Jade Sea. It's beyond the Free Cities, beyond the Dothraki Sea. It's closer to like Karth, if you remember Karth later on. It's the city she goes to, and she runs into the.
Is that the wealthy city?
Yeah, the wealthy people who are like, yeah, we don't let anybody in. And the guy's like, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, I invoke the fucking thing. I cut hand.
Yeah.
So excited to get to all that. But yeah, no, like it's out that way. And the only reason I know that is because I clicked on it over here on this fandom article. I didn't just know all that about Ashai off the top of my head.
I was gonna say that would be kind of insane. If you did.
I don't know that much about Ashai, but Dany very quickly is taken by the eggs. She picks them up. She stares at them longingly. I like that the stones kind of match the color that the dragons become later on. It appears she picks up the green one, which is Rhaegal, becomes Jon's dragon later on in the show, which is very, very cool. But yeah, she's very, very taken with him. And for his gift, Drogo just rises from his seat, walks away, and Dany's like, "Oh, okay, yep, I'm following.
I guess I'm going to." Yeah.
And everyone surrounds and is like, "Yeah, get in there." And Drogo gifts her a beautiful white horse with blonde hair, and it's like, "Oh, this guy's kind of sweet," you know, like.
That's a cute present, not gonna lie.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah, okay, Carl.
It's in this moment that Viserys tells his sister to make Drogo happy. And Drogo and Daenerys ride down to the shore, and we get the whole... She starts crying. No. Brushes away the tear. Do you speak the common tongue? No. Yeah,
Is no the only word that you know?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the first time along this rewatch that I truly have beef with the change from the books.
Okay.
This interaction starts with her being a little bit upset, mostly because it's just not what she pictured for her life. She didn't imagine she would marry the Horse Lord of the Dothraki. But as the scene goes on, she is much more down with the advancements Drogo makes in the book. The culmination of all this no is she moves him somewhere and goes, yes. So for the first time, I think we see a glimpse of how this show is going to decide to treat women. And knowing that was the show's choice, I thought was interesting, especially given that I know next episode she like reclaims her sexuality and like reclaims her her power over Drogo by flipping the script on him. But I do feel like we didn't need her to, get raped for that to happen.
Yeah, that is interesting. Because it's like, they're obviously just trying to show her innocence and her complete, just she's been thrown into this. This is like the last thing. And that's just what they're trying to show. And I think maybe, I'm trying to think of any reason they did it to make the moment where she does flip the script on Drogo, maybe it makes that more powerful. Because say she does it here as well, and then she just does it again. I mean,
say she does it here. It almost. And the other thing is that, like, the way that she goes about reclaiming it later on is she learns from one of the maidens how to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
And I don't know. I haven't I haven't done that part of the book yet. I don't know if that's part of the book. So it'll be interesting to see if that is a part of the book. Because if it's not, then I'm pretty sure I know exactly why they did that.
Yeah.
Which will be which we shall see. But yeah, this was the first time I was kind of like, man. I was listening to the book and I was like, oh no, that kind of sucks. Game of Thrones not shying away from the general torturing of the ladies. They tend to get into that. But that would conclude the story in Pentos and with Daenerys Targaryen for the episode. Just a great character introduction to Daenerys, and knowing the rise she sees. It's really cool to see her kind of be a pawn in other people's game in the first episode, kind of mirroring what Jon is to everybody at Winterfell. Like, yeah, we'll send him out to the Night's Watch. Fuck it. Send her off to the Dothraki. Fuck it.
Is there anyone else who deserves the performance more than Emilia Clarke here?
I think so.
Okay.
I have a performance that I would well, here's the thing. Emilia Clarke's performance in this is phenomenal. And
she had the most emotional. Like, she had to show the most emotion.
Yeah, she definitely had to show the fear, the sadness, the rage earlier on. She definitely provides us a good range in this episode. But there are a few performances in this episode that are damn good, and I'm gonna hold off until we get past them to really make a final decision there. But
I'm gonna preemptively put in Emilia Clarke for mine. I think I'm pretty confident in it. But
all right, well, that helps me because I like having different ones. Like, if sometimes there's one that's just so obviously the right choice, but if you're going Emilia Clarke, I'm confident that I might be able to go with someone else a little bit more in good faith. But after this, we're going to King's Landing, the capital of the Seven Kingdoms, where the bells ring out to commemorate the death of Lord Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King. And as they're preparing his body for burial with the stones over the eyes and such, Queen Cersei Lannister watches over. And she's very worried that something was discovered by Jon, something that he shouldn't have known, that he may have told someone. She confides all of this in her twin brother, Sir Jaime Lannister. But he tells her, don't fucking worry. The king knew the truth. We'd already be fucking dead. And it's interesting, like, remembering the first time I watched this is a clueless conversation. I got no idea what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh shit, what'd they do? What's the intrigue? Did they kill this man? What's going on? It's a lot more than that. And she tells him that he should be the new Hand of the King. And he's like, no, their hours are too long and their lives are too short. Look at this motherfucker. He's dead on a slab. You think I want that?
Fair.
Nah, y'all will probably both end up dying younger than Jon Arryn anyway.
Very much younger.
Yeah. Cersei's like, you take nothing seriously, you prick. And that's all that happens in King's Landing in the first episode. We don't get shit else in King's Landing. So it's nice and quick there. The rest of the season, obviously, will take us to King's Landing a great deal more.
Mm-hmm.
But let's head to Winterfell, where sometime after the prologue, Will has fled south of the Wall in terror. And rather than return to Castle Black to warn everybody that there are White Walkers out there, he goes, I'm going to fucking run, where he is chased down by a loyalist of the House Stark, and he's taken to Lord Eddard. And all the while, little Lord Ned, is up at Winterfell with his wife and family. And the shot of Ned and Catelyn watching on as Bran is practicing archery with Robb and Jon helping him out. Man, it's just like, god damn.
Man, the first two Starks that you see on screen is Bran and Jon. Like, it's just the only two remaining, like I guess you got Arya, and Sansa.
But of the boys.
But like of I don't know, it was just cool.
Of Robb, Rickon, like
the
brothers.
It's
I guess Jon's a cousin.
Like, and certain lines they say, and then they cut to the person they're referring to, in which, if you're watching this for the first time, you have no idea that a reference is even being made, sort of situation again. Like, there was a lot of those at Winterfell with Jon and Bran. And I don't know, I love those, like, moments in shows, and especially seeing, like, how young, like, how much the actors and actresses change over time with the show. Like, Bran is one of the biggest change, because he, like, legitimately goes through puberty, like, during the show.
Yeah, like, he changes like crazy. Well, that's what's crazy is Macy Williams, Arya Stark, also grows up quite a great deal. But her like literal facial structure doesn't change as much as Bran's does. And I can't remember the actor for Bran's name. Let me get it up for us real quick. Isaac Hempstead Wright.
There he is.
Yes.
I guess Sansa. Wright. Sansa, yeah. Sophie Turner definitely changes.
Sophie Turner definitely grows up, and it's funny seeing Sansa just because, like, Sophie Turner is like probably the most famous of all of these Stark children. I think Sophie Turner is, at least pop culturally. I think that if you're generally, there are probably a great deal of kids my little brother's age, like Griffin's age, who know her as like Joe Jonas's wife, which is just kind of nuts.
I forget that.
She's married to one of the Jonas brothers and she has like 2 or 3 kids now, which is fucking nuts.
What?
Like watching these kids grow up and knowing shit like that is fucking crazy.
Whoa. That's weird.
Yeah. Weird as fuck, but nevertheless, Robb and Jon can't help laughing when Bran looses an arrow and it goes far and far away from the target, and far worse than his last shot. And they all chuckle, and Ned's like, wait a minute. Which one of you was a marksman at 10? Keep at it, Bran. And I was like, I fucking love you, dog.
Ned is just
fucking love you, dog.
I mean, I was trying to think of any character that I could put that was not Ned. That he was the only other performance that I was thinking that could
he's one of 3 that I'm debating. Sean Bean as Ned Stark is fucking brilliant, and I can't confidently give the character to anyone else. It has to be Ned Stark. It was just such a great character introduction. You immediately get a sense for who this man is, and immediately, even the first time I was watching this, I was like, this man, there's no way this guy cheated on his wife. Like, I just don't believe that.
the one who gives the sentence has to swing the sword. He's so the dude is just an honorable man.
The honorablest. But
who's more honorable, Ned Stark or Jorah Mormont?
Nah, it's Ned Stark. Ned Stark's the one who exiles Jorah Mormont for selling people. So, like, it's got to be Ned Stark.
I mean, okay, yeah. Fair enough. There, touche.
Yeah. Touche.
Yeah. Okay, I'll hold off on putting Ned on the character then. I'll see.
I gotta put Ned. I can't make it any other choice. But the youngest son, Rickon, watches on, and like the little flash to Rickon, you know, he's barely in the show ever, and like I was like, oh, this little fucking kid, he's gonna die.
There's only one image in my head of that's
fucking serpentine, homie, run back and forth.
I mean, it is right before one of the most badass moments in the show's history. So
yeah, I cannot wait to get there, bro. The show is so fucking epic. But yeah, another interesting thing is that compared to the books, they boosted everybody's age by 3 years. Rob and Jon were 14. They're 17 here. Rickon was 3 in the books. He's 6 here. Bran was 7. He's 10 in the show. Sansa was 10. She's 13. Arya was 8, and she's 11. So they went ahead and ran those numbers up a little bit. But Ned and Catelyn's youngest daughter, Arya, is left to needlework with Sansa, and she's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm getting the fuck out of here. She goes ahead, runs away, and while we watch Bran practicing archery, an arrow flies right past him and straight into the bullseye. And there, when they turn around, is Arya. And it flashes a smile on Ned's face. Rob and Jon laugh a little bit. And Bran chases her down, and it's just like, fuck.
And only if Sansa was there, that would have been like the last family moment they had.
Right. It happens like 10 minutes into the episode, bro. Like,
I guess maybe Arya flicking the food onto Sansa's face might be the last family moment they have together.
Right.
Everyone's there, I'd say at that, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Well, no, Jon. I guess Jon would be the only one outside swinging
but even that's kind of fitting of the dynamic that they've all developed.
It's even, oh, fuck. No.
Yeah, well, all the fun is kind of quelled when Ned receives news that a Night's Watch deserter has been found. Nudes. And, you know, the law decrees here that a deserter from the Watch shall be executed. And Catelyn's like, do you have to? And he's like, the law is the law, my lady. He took an oath. What am I to do? It's the fucking word of law.
Yeah.
Justice is blind.
That's Ned's blood. Somehow, honor pumps his heart. If he commits an act that is not honorable, he will die.
He will die.
That is his oath. He's taking an oath to honor.
What's sad is that his dedication to honor is what ultimately does kill him. I mean, shit.
He knew it too. He says, I belong here in the north. My wife
belong here in the north.
You knew it.
But nevertheless, Ned's like, come on, tell Bran he's coming with. And Catelyn's like, bro, he's 10. Don't make him see that shit. And he was like, man, he's 10. Come on now. Come on now. It's time.
Come on, Ned. Yeah, he's 10.
He's got to see this shit. He's got to know what it's about.
Okay.
It's being a Stark custom for among the songs to carry out executions themselves. So, along with Ned is Theon, the master at arms Roderick, who meets a terrible demise at the hands of Theon later on. and his leading guard, Jory Cassell. And Will accepts his fate here, but tells Ned that he saw White Walkers, and he asks that word be sent back to his mother, that he's not a coward, that there was reason. And Ned carries out the execution himself using his Valyrian blade, Ice.
Woo.
I, Ned Eddard of the House Stark, in the name of Robert Baratheon, first of his name, King of the Andals and the First Men, and And he brings the sword up. Young Bran witnesses this execution, and Jon tells him, keep your eyes on it. He'll know if you look away. And young Bran witnesses the execution, doesn't flinch, and earns praise from his brother Jon. He's like, good job. And Ned explains to Bran afterwards, do you know why I had to do that? And Bran's like, our way is the old way. And he's like, well, yeah, but no. Do you know why I was the one who did it? And it's like, well, the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. He's like, well, and I don't know if this was said in this, but in the books, Bran makes the point like, well, King Robert has a swordsman, like a guy who does the head cutting. And he's like, yeah, but I do that shit here. This is the North. We move different.
Yeah, gangster shit. They do their own.
I was thinking about it. It's like, can you imagine just how differently you might look at your dad if you watched him cut dudes' heads off? Like that was just a thing that happens.
Yeah, no, that'd be a big switch up. That's for sure.
That'd be quite the experience. But Bran asks his father about Will and why he was talking about White Walkers. Do you really see White Walkers? And Ned dismisses it as the ramblings of a madman, insisting that the Walkers have been gone for centuries. And they set out for Winterfell. And along the way back to the castle, the party finds a dead deer in the road. Disemboweled, and Theon wonders if it's the work of a mountain lion, and Ned's like, you fucking idiot. None of those exist here. And they look around looking for what must have done it end, and they find a rare dead direwolf killed with a stag antler broken off in her throat, and the female that she died after giving birth, her little pups huddled by the corpse for warmth. And Ned's like, oh, better a quick death. And Theon's like, fuck yeah, baby, got my knife, let's do this shit. I'm a fucking sicko. I'm ready to kill some puppies.
That's weird.
And the way Rob was like, put your fucking blade away. What the hell is wrong with you? And he's like, I listened to your fucking dad, man, not you. And John's like, well, hold on. There are 5 pups. The direwolf is the symbol of House Stark. You have 5 trueborn children. 1 for each of them. You were meant to find these wolves. They were meant to have them. And I like that in the book they go into the reason Ned goes with this is because Jon doesn't include himself.
Yeah, it's so sad that he starts by saying, well, Lord Stark, actually, there are 5, he's like, has to refer to him like that. And
and father.
Oh, man. Knowing how important he is, knowing he is literally the person in the universe. And he, fuck, dude. It's just, it's so sad, but it just makes it so much better.
Is right now, he technically has a better claim than Viserys.
Yeah.
Because he is the oldest son's son. Rhaegar was Viserys' older brother.
Damn. And Viserys' dad was
the Mad King.
Yeah. And then that's some descendant of Rhaenyra and Daemon.
Yeah, somehow.
Okay. That's just sick. Yeah.
Crazy line that we've got there, but nevertheless, ultimately John convinces Ned that this is the right thing to do, and with Bran looking on, Ned agrees, but only if they care and raise the pups themselves. Even if one should die, the owner will be the one to bury it.
Yeah.
And
the way he said it too, he's just so badass. He was like, "You'll feed them on your own. You'll raise them on your own.
Classic
and if they
dad
die,
shit. Classic dad
like,
shit. He'll end up caring for these dogs more than they do. Classic father moves, being like, "I don't want a fucking dog." Then you get a dog, and they're like, "What's up, buddy?"
Exactly. Every time.
But
I mean, I don't know. Those
how you gonna not? How you gonna not?
What would have been really cool is if that stag that killed the direwolf with one of its antlers was a white stag as well.
Oh,
it with the hunt Rhaenyra and stuff.
Yeah,
that would have been sick. But
cool little parallel. But
I guess the direwolf itself is pretty.
That's
telling.
pretty epic. Yeah.
So maybe that's
direwolf
the focus.
South of the Wall, a rarity. A rarity indeed. But after this, they're about to head out, and John finds a sixth pup. An albino runt of the litter, completely white fur, red of eye. And Theon's like, "That's you, John. That's yours." And it's hilarious. This one ends up growing up to be bigger and badder and alive more than the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. Costing more in CGI dollars than dragons somehow.
Well, is that the case, or is it just that they had to put so much money into the dragons that they couldn't also allocate the resources to the direwolves?
Maybe that's it. I think it might not be that the direwolves are more expensive.
It's just that they couldn't come at the cost of downgrading.
They couldn't just
the
have
dragons.
both. Yeah, both could not happen at the same time, I guess.
I get that.
But that's kind of, I don't know. I mean, that is the thing. A dragon you're looking at it from far away most of the time, where the detail doesn't have to be individual hairs, So I guess it is legitimately. I guess it could be legitimately harder and actually cost more for the wolf. I don't know where I heard that though, so I could just be pulling that out of left field. But
that's there was a lot of that, or a lot of discourse around it throughout the run of Game of Thrones about how the direwolves show up less and less over the years. They just continually stop showing up, and sometimes a wolf will show up and you'll be like, "I forgot that one was alive."
Yep.
So many things die throughout this shit that I don't know. I just completely forgot. But after this, we find what is my favorite shot of the episode happens here, where a raven bearing news of Jon Arryn's death arrives, but Ned's sitting out in the God's Wood, cleaning his blade, sharpening it.
Woo!
Catelyn's approaching. You see their reflections in the water. I was like, "Oh, that shit was pretty." And just knowing that also this is the spot. This is where
where it happens, dude. That's where it goes down. Damn.
That's crazy. But it was just a really pretty shot. I even took note of exactly the timetable. I said my favorite shot begins at 21 minutes 40 seconds, ends at 21 minutes 46 seconds. It's just Catelyn's approach to Ned along the pond at the God's Wood, just very, very pretty. But she talks to him for a second, then she's like, "I'm so sorry, Ned," and he's like, "Tell me, what is it?" And she explains that Jon Arryn has died. A fever took him in the night, and he is particularly stricken, as Arryn was something of a father figure to him whenever he was fostered at the Eyrie. And she tells him that King Robert Baratheon and much of the royal court rides for Winterfell. And Ned's like, "Fuck. I don't want it. I never wanted it.
The king riding this far north can only mean one. He's only after one thing." Yeah,
you can always say no, Ned. He's like, "I don't fucking know that I can." Ponders some refusal, and he's like, I belong here in the north. I belong in the north." God,
he's a Northman through and through. You know, he's
the blood of the first men runs through his veins.
Damn.
But yeah, it's cool too because knowing just how long some of these journeys take and stuff, like we're jumping time in this episode. They don't specify or anything, but there's leaps and bounds made because next up, we're probably a few weeks later, and the Stark children are growing used to their dire wolves. Rob's named his Grey Wind. Sansa calls hers Lady. Pretty much the second most uninspired name I've ever heard in my life. Lady. I was like, Sansa, come on now. You corny motherfucker. Arya came through with the fucking hammer. Nymeria?
Fuck. Yeah. That goes hard.
That's nuts.
Nymeria goes hard.
That's fucking baller. And Jon ultimately named his Ghost for his white color and uncanny silence. They go into his like ability to not make noise a lot more in the books. Like
Ghost is sick.
He be quiet as fuck. I love Ghost. That might be my favorite character of the episode. No. I fucking love Ghost.
You know what? I'm putting it down. Final answer.
Final
Ghost.
answer.
Yeah.
Lock it in. Bran calls his Summer, and Rickon, with the worst name for a direwolf ever, Shaggy Dog.
What the fuck? No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
His wolf's name is Shaggy Dog. He is 6. I'll grant him that.
Okay. That's still pretty shitty for 6. Not gonna lie. I'm
See,
sorry.
it made more sense in the book when he named his dog Shaggy Dog, and he was 3.
Yeah, that makes sense there. 6? You coming up with something better than Shaggy Dog.
Even just Shaggy.
Just drop the dog. Yeah, drop the dog. That is one of the coolest names ever. Just in general.
The most powerful entity in all of the multiverse, Shaggy.
So, pretty fitting name for a direwolf, actually.
For sure. But in one of the just most heartwarming and heartbreaking simultaneous scenes, Bran watches as the royal party approaches up top on the castle, and he starts climbing down. I was like, man, this little fucking guy.
Why'd you have to like climbing so much, you know?
Yeah, man, come on now. But he promises to stop when he arrives down at the ground, and his mom's like, you gotta fucking promise me to stop climbing everywhere, okay? And he looks down, and he's like, I promise. And she's like, you always look at your fucking feet before you lie. And he's like, yeah.
Forgot what I saw where it's that's the one of the through lines that I was talking about. I forgot what happens, but Bran tells like a very important detail to Jon or somebody, and he looks down at his feet before he does, for one of like the details or something like that. And people are like going like insane. I don't know, like it was caught like after the season 8 finale. I feel like it wasn't caught like whenever it was out. It was like after everything was already said and done, and everyone was like after everything was reframed. I forgot what the detail was, but man, it's a while though. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a while. But
yeah, that'll
keep your eyes on Bran's eyes, I guess.
Yeah, him looking down at his feet, I suppose. I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, you don't put that in there without any purpose. So we shall see. So but Winterfell prepares for the guests. Catelyn wants to make sure that Tyrion, a great reader, has enough candles and enough, alcohol as he can put away some liquor. It's Tyrion's thing. But and then we also see the young men of the house getting cleaned up, their shave. Just a little bit of something for the female gaze here, or the male gaze, whatever you're into. With Jon and Rob and Theon all shirtless, just like, yeah, let's get shaved together, men. This is incredible activity we've got going on. Let's bond. The way that he's got like the long ass hair, And they're like, all right, be careful with him, be gentle. There's never been a lady he's liked more than his hair. John's got a beautiful head of hair. Did not deserve to be cut.
What's up? So Rob, he's like kind of finished getting shaved, and the barber like is just feeling his face like super sensually. Like he's done, and he's literally just feeling his face. Like, and I don't know why I've never noticed it before.
Spots,
I guess, yeah, I know that. I guess that's the conclusion I came to. But I'm like, man, he was really just really like.
Right, really feeling that shit. Yeah. But yeah, they're gossiping about the queen and stuff. A reportedly amazingly beautiful woman. And after this, all of Winterfell gathers in the courtyard as the royal party approaches. And Arya is late because she's trying to get a better glimpse of everybody. She puts on a little knight's helmet and climbs up on a wagon to see them approaching. And it's cool because later on in season 8, we do see a small child in the season 8 premiere doing like the very same thing, running around, trying to find a better look and climbing up on a wagon to see Daenerys and Jon's approach as a royal party. Which was just so fucking cool to think about that later on they return to Winterfell in a triumphant, like, we're pretty much the king and queen now.
God, it's crazy. Like where this story goes, and it's insane. Like I really wanted to see how well the world building aspect of this was, because that's what a lot of critics say is like the thing that Game of Thrones has done better than any other show ever, and this is the best season of world building of all time. And like it's really true. Like, there are so many different storylines that are happening at once, but there's never any sign of confusion, really. You're never like confused as to really what's going on, and you have no idea who any of these characters are, but you're still
so genius to begin it where, and this is a classic storytelling device, to start it in a place where we're all together. Like every character who's going to be like truly important in the season is all in the same place at the same time, pretty much, except for Daenerys, who's got her whole other storyline going on right now. I mean, it's utilized in a lot of different movies. I think back to like the fucking Godfather, the fucking the wedding at the beginning. You got every major character in the Godfather is there. You know, like they're all there. It's a great chance to introduce everybody and get to know everybody. It's a classic storytelling device to have some sort of event where everyone can meet up very early on, and just to have everybody branch off from here is genius. But all the while, Arya is late to the party, annoys the shit out of Sansa by being a little bit loud. She's like, shut the fuck up! And then King Robert rides in with his knights, while Queen Cersei is in a large wheelhouse, and Ned presents his household to King Robert. They kneel before him. Robert stands there. He does the little finger motion. Dead. And they rise, and he presents everybody, but not after, he goes, "You've gotten fat." And then Ned, like, the look Ned gives him where he, like, looks him up and down and is like...
He was like...
This is the first moment where I went, I might just go Sean Bean for that choice alone for Ned Stark is my favorite performance. Because the way he looks at him up and down like, dead ass?
All in that moment, it was like, really? You're saying that to me? Also, I'm scared to say this out loud because you're the king, and like I'm an honorable man, and I know I can't talk bad about the king, So he's like, it was all in that little look up and down. Like you get all of that. It's crazy. Yeah.
And then immediately after that, the way that Robert like bursts out laughing and stuff, it was in that moment after that where my third player came into play for potential favorite performance. I love Mark Addy as Robert Baratheon. I think, like just through the next few episodes that he's involved in,
he does have my favorite line, I think.
He's playing a caricature a little bit, but he does it so fucking well. Like,
He's playing the stereotypical king. Like, I don't give a fuck about the realm. I'm here for the money, the wine, the women, the food, that's all he's there for. And I can't really get behind that, but when I'm watching the show,
it's like, yeah,
a character like that, no, I gotta love it. I think like the line. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I have not. I don't think there is a better line in the episode. Whenever he, or you know what? No, I will wait because I want the exact quote, and I think it will be said because it's down in the crypt whenever he's talking to Ned.
Gotcha. But
but no,
yeah.
I see why you like his performance though.
Oh, dude, I think he's fucking brilliant in this role. But Ned presents his household to him. Robert meets a lot of the kids for the first time. He's like, "You must be Rob. You're Sansa. What a beautiful lady you've grown into. And what's your name? Aya. Dope. All right. Show me your muscles, Bran." And he pumps it out. He's like, "You'll be a great soldier." No, he won't. He will take your job.
He actually can't move his legs in a couple of
days? Next episode. Yeah.
Hours? I don't.
A day.
Is it that night?
I think it's the next day.
Yeah, it is. It's the feast happens, and then
they
have the happy time.
They go on the hunt. And, yeah. But after all the formalities, Rob's like, "I'd like to go to the crypts and pay my respect." And Cersei's like, "We just arrived. We've been riding for months. Can't we?
The dead can wait."
Yeah, the dead can wait. And he's like, "Nope, they can't. I resent you, and I love her, so bye." And the way that, like, again, just small choices, the way Sean Bean and Lena Headey exchange glances here as Ned and Cersei, just, he looks at her, and she looks at him, and he's like, shit, sorry. They head on down there. But after they depart, Cersei sends Jaime to find their brother Tyrion, the imp who everyone is so ready to see. Arya all the while, "Where's the imp? Where's the imp?" And he's managed to find his way to a brothel, as Tyrion is wont to do here in the early seasons, in the town outside Winterfell, and it's where he's enjoying the attentions of Raz, who becomes quite the character. I really enjoy Raz. She sees one of the more brutal demises of anybody in the show, which is she's the one who gets loaded with arrows by Joffrey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm fairly certain. I'm pretty sure it's her. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's her after she's let a little bit too much information go regarding Littlefinger, and Littlefinger sends her to Joffrey, and Joffrey does her end. So just an interesting introduction, she's like, Tyrion hasn't told her that he's Tyrion, and she's like, "Oh, I hear that the imp's coming to town." Like, he's like, "I hear he hates that name," and he's like, "Oh, you're a clever girl. The gods gave me one blessing. I got this big old dick."
Yeah, like, "I hear the imp's coming to town." Oh yeah, I just so happen to be a wealthy imp that is in town at the same time. That has gold
nothing
hair.
more there.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't really have much of a disguise. Can't.
Nah, yeah, he's pretty. Especially later on, once he gets that scar, it's like, oh yeah, you're fucked. You're done. You're the most recognizable man in the realm now. But right as they're about to do the act, Jaime bursts in, and Tyrion's like, "So, I take it you don't know the meaning of a closed door in a whorehouse." And he's like, "I do, my friend, but we've got shit to do. I need you at the feast tonight. You can't leave me hanging out to dry with these northerners. They're fucking weird." And he's like, Jaime tells Tyrion, "A man of limited height but with immense appetites, he'll be needed." And He's like, Cersei's asking for us to be there, and Tyrion's little, she has odd appetites, our sister. And Jaime goes, a family trait. Just, a little too knowing, if you ask me. But
I mean, Tyrion fully knows, right?
I think he's like pretty, like fairly certain. Like they've never talked about it, but he's like, I'm pretty sure they're in love. It's got to be a weird position to be in as the third sibling, in which two siblings are in love with each other.
God, wow.
Yeah, it's got to be quite the position that Tyrion's in. But in the meantime, Tyrion's like, well, I had plans tonight, man. I got a whole lineup cooking, bro. And Jaime's like, I had a feeling you'd say that. Get on in here, ladies, and just greets each of these women by slapping them on their ass, and they all storm Tyrion, giggles about, and Jaime sees his way out. Tyrion, close the door.
Yeah, this is even a very tame episode of Game of Thrones, and it already solidified my thinking in, oh yeah, Game of Thrones is way more brutal than House of the Dragon. Like,
oh yeah.
House of the Dragon had some brutal stuff in it, that's for sure. Some of the most like hard to watch scenes ever. I'm not really talking about that, but just like the brutality and just the nudity, the just absolute, yeah, just whatever the fuck they wanted on screen, they put it on there. Game of Thrones, just they don't give a fuck. They don't give a single shit,
no fuck
whatsoever. They would rather focus on the fucked up shit than anything else. Like, if there is intestines, it's a close-up shot instead of, I don't know, or like, yeah, it's like, no, we will show you this instead of cut away and have your imagination. Yeah,
it's intense. Like whenever the Dothraki is disemboweled at the Dothraki wedding, and you're like, boom, right there, check that shit out. It's like, okay, cool. The blood spurt from the head getting cut off by Ned, like, I really go at it. But
this is very tame for Game of Thrones.
True enough. But in the crypt, this is where Robert is offering up prayers at the tomb of Lyanna Stark, whom Robert was betrothed to before she was allegedly kidnapped by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. And Lyanna died shortly after she was found. He tells Ned that in his dreams he kills Rhaegar every night anew. And Ned reminds him that the House Targaryen was destroyed. But Robert replies, not all of them. And it is here that...
is he so pissed at Rhaegar that he is like, every Targaryen must die? Like, is that like...
I think it's part of it, but I also think that they usurped the throne from the Mad King. The Mad King has 2 children left who are a threat to his reign. Fair. I think it's not only like fuck the Targaryens for what Rhaegar did. I think it was fuck the Targaryens, and then Rhaegar did what he did, and it was like, oh, now it's really, really fuck.
Yeah. Fair.
My question is, does he have any reason? Is Ned the one who told him that Rhaegar did this?
Wouldn't it have?
Rhaegar did not kidnap and rape Lyanna. Rhaegar married Lyanna and had a trueborn child. Ned probably was forced to come up with a story about why he has a bastard, why Lyanna died, and everything to protect Aegon Targaryen.
You're right.
No, the while that this conversation is happening, Ned's got to be like, oh, man. Yeah, like,
you wouldn't believe it, buddy.
Yeah, like, and again, this line, the House Targaryen was destroyed. Not all of them. There's one here, now. Like, and Ned's got to be thinking that, like, I'm housing one
Does Ned just know it as Rhaegar and his sister's son, or like does he know it as like the prince that is promised? He did Lyanna like whisper that to him? Like she whispered like yeah Aegon, like call him like Aegon, but like did she whisper like the importance of him, and like did he know that, or is it just like this is my sister's kid, I'm going to protect?
I think it's just that. I think it's the fact that it was his sister's kid. I think he's well aware that it's Rhaegar's son.
So he doesn't know the philosophy, the prophecy. There's the word.
No, I don't think he knows the prophecy.
Okay. I don't know.
No, yeah, because I don't think it was.
Winter is coming. That's just a forever Stark line.
Yeah,
right? That's not like a new thing.
That's their house words. That's that's just. It's always been winter is coming for House Stark, which is it's always been funny to me. Like, what do they say when winter comes?
Winter's here. Winter
Summer is coming.
Oh yes, yeah. The second it snows
with the seasons.
Yeah, the second it snows, now summer is coming. that's how. Yeah, that's how it works.
Winter is blooming. No, but Robert here formally offers Ned the role of Hand of the King, and Ned kneels before him. Sir, I'm not worthy of the honor. He's like, get the fuck out, my old friend. I don't want to. I just want you to rule my realm. I'm not trying to honor you.
What's the line right here?
To eat, drink, and whore my way to an early grave, homie. I want you to rule my kingdoms.
Maybe it wasn't here. Something along the lines of, I just wanted to... Oh, it's whenever he was reminiscing on his younger days, and he was like, I just wanted to crack skulls and...
Fuck whores.
Maybe... Was that it? Was that the line, or was this the one? I just want you to run my realm. Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the line I was actually looking for.
Oh yeah, he says I'm trying to eat, drink, and whore my way to an early grave. I'm not trying to. He goes, I'm not trying to honor you. I want you to run my kingdoms. I'm trying to eat, drink, and whore my way to an early grave. And earlier on, he's like, I remember those days. I just wanted to crack skulls and fuck girls. And because of his accent, it like kind of rhymes. It's kind of a bar.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know that you're. I didn't think about him for the performance slot, but like, man,
Mark Addy fucking kills it, bro. He's an underrated role across this show, but to put a cherry on top of this offer his hand, he's like, we'll finally bind our houses too. It was going to be me and Lyanna, but now I have a son, you have a daughter. We'll bind them in marriage, Joffrey and Sansa. And he's like, and then Robert just walks away. He's like, it's done. And he's like, oh, wow, okay.
That's like, I am going to run the kingdom. I'm going to basically be king. And then my daughter will become queen.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, I mean,
it's after this that a great feast is held, and Cersei and Catelyn exchange some cordial words. And this is where my favorite scene begins. Feast. Just everything happens here. Cersei and Catelyn exchange some words, and Cersei seems more impressed by Sansa, thinking that she'll be a great addition to the court. But outside, Jon's working on his sword practice, angry that Catelyn thought it would be inappropriate that a bastard should attend. And this is when his uncle Benjen arrives, first ranger of the Night's Watch, to join the feast. And Jon asks him, take me back to the wall, man. I'm trying to roll with you. And Benjen's like, dude, you don't want this. He's like, we don't father children, we don't marry women. And he's like, I don't care about any of that. He's like, bro, you fuck one time and you will care.
Yeah, if you knew what it meant, you might care. And I don't know, it's kind of that line though.
Yeah, it's one of those
if you knew what it meant. Yeah, if you knew what you having a kid would mean,
Well, also, if you knew what it meant, if you knew what joining the Night's Watch was for you, you will die at the hands of the Night's Watch.
you're too important to die though, so don't worry about it. You got
That's an interesting question. Is there anybody that Ned would have shared this information with, and if it was, it probably would have been Benjen.
If not your best friend in Robert, right?
Who you
so
can't
like
tell.
he definitely couldn't. That'd be probably the only person that
I don't think he did, but like if there was anybody, it probably would have been him. But
no, he's an honorable man. He has, even though he has to lie, he's lying for his sister. So like he takes honor in that. Like so
it's for the fam.
Yeah, I don't think he's told anybody.
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he has either. But Benjen ultimately agrees to consider, and it's here that Tyrion arrives and talks to Jon. He's like suggesting that he's a bit too pricklish and quick to take offense. He's like, so you're the imp, the queen's brother, and he's like, my greatest achievement, and you're the warden of the North's bastard, huh? And Jon's like, harumph, walk away, throw sword at body. And he's like, I did not mean offense, my good sir. You should take the insult and wear it like armor so that no one can hurt him with it. And Jon's like, well, what the fuck do you know about being a bastard? And Tyrion hits him back with the classic line, all dwarfs are bastards in their father's eyes. And it's like at this feast, man, after Benjen talks to Jon, he heads in, and that's truly when my favorite scene starts. Benjen talks to Ned for a second about Will and what happened beyond the wall, and I don't know that we get another interaction between Ned and his brother. I think this might be it. We get Catelyn and Cersei, Sansa approaching the table and being like, my queen, and she's like, have you bled yet? And like that whole thing. Jaime and Ned meet up, and Jaime's like, oh, I can't wait to see you at the tourneys. We're going to celebrate your ascension. And he's like, I don't fight at tourneys, bruh. When I fight, I don't want people to know what I'm capable of. And I was like, that's my favorite line. That's my favorite line. I was like, oh, this man's a badass. I just know it.
What is it? When I fight, I don't want people
to know what I'm capable of. Or what I can do.
Is it I don't fight at tourneys? Is that the first line? Does he say tourneys? I feel like he says tourneys.
Tournaments. Yeah, I don't fight in tournaments because when I fight a man for real, I don't want him to know what I can do. That's the exact quote.
There we go.
Fucking love that. Absolutely.
That is hard. Yeah, you dang. I guess I'll keep the Robert line in there, even though that's definitely way better. Like that's way harder. But for my favorite scene, I actually went with Robert's arrival to Winterfell.
Oh, that's a classic.
Because you kind of get Arya and her like her cute little tropes, of her wanting to be, so her with the helmet and her running, coming up and being a little late, and Ned like, what are you wearing, or whatever.
Yeah. I love the feast because it so perfectly just captures everyone's dynamic. Everyone inside the feast has their own little interaction that presents just how opposite they are. Jaime and Ned, Cersei and Catelyn, King Robert's just out there blatantly hooking up with a woman, like and then all the while outside, Jon and Tyrion, stewards of their families, are discussing with each other, and it's like, God, it's just a perfect little encapsulation of what this whole show is. But
the Tyrion stuff with Jon, since you got Ned for the character, and Ned is probably the obvious win here, I'm just gonna throw in Tyrion for this episode. I mean, he starts out, what an introduction for a Thrones character, starting out fucking right away, drinking wine and orgasming. Literally, actually, he climaxes while chugging wine.
That's a character introduction right there, buddy. That's ultimately what Tyrion Lannister is in the first seasons of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, pretty much. You boil them down, there you go.
All encapsulating, but hereafter, Ned and Catelyn receive a letter in the night delivered by Maester Luwin from a messenger from the Eyrie. And I love that, like, Ned and Catelyn are, like, so comfortable together, like, the way that they're, like, laying there, and they're like, come in, and he just, like, comes in, and they're just like, we ain't gonna fucking move for you, bro. We had a big day.
That's a loving couple right there.
Oh, I fucking love them, and, like, I wish she knew.
I know, man. Her hate for Jon is so,
her hate
like,
for Jon.
It makes sense, you know. Like, it is kind of her fault. Like, the hatred. Like, she shouldn't really hate.
Fuck no, she shouldn't. That's one thing I'll never forgive Catelyn for. It is not his fault he was born. You know, if you're gonna resent anyone, resent Ned. Like,
yeah, it's just, I guess that Jon is the walking reminder, you know, of it. 100%. So it's like
100%. But you know who is also a walking reminder that her husband cheated? Her husband.
Yeah. God, like, I don't know. It.
And that's the thing. I do get it. I do get, like, the.
Why didn't he just tell her? I guess he
couldn't. He couldn't tell her. Yeah, like, he simply couldn't. So, like, it's he sacrificed his honor to preserve Jon, and I've always thought that's just another.
Okay, yeah, fair. I guess because at the current state, like, the reason to protect him is because he's just a very valuable, like, obviously he has the strongest claim to the throne, so people would either try to kill him or want all the implications of that. Yeah. But well, no. Yeah, I guess even with Daenerys and Viserys alive, it still doesn't matter. Like, there's no one alive that could come close to him. Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, no, this is it. But the letter that they've received is from Catelyn's sister, Lady Lysa Arryn, the widow of Jon Arryn. And in the letter, Lysa says that Jon Arryn was murdered by the Lannisters and that they planned to conspire against King Robert. She's like, fucking A, throw this in the fire.
That Maester's a real one, though. He was there, just kind of like to hear it, and he was like, well.
Dude, and the shot where Ned is centered, they've got the devil and the angel on the shoulders.
Yes, dude.
Like, blurred out.
God.
They never focus in on Catelyn and Luwin. It's like almost like these are the thoughts that are hitting Ned, where Catelyn's like, you have to stay here. If they just murdered him, what do you think they'll do to you? And Luwin's like, that's all the more reason. They trust, the king trusts him. Like, he's got to go down there. He's got to help any way he can. And she's like, your father and brother were invited down there. You know, like, they were invited down there by a king, and they met their demise. And Luwin goes, a different king, a different time. And ultimately, while he would prefer to stay in Winterfell, he has to accept the offer and head south. He feels it is his duty. God damn it, Ned. God damn it. But
have the gods created a man that hasn't? What's the line? You know, even Ned.
The gods have never created a man who doesn't have the patience for power.
Even Ned, you know, like, I don't know, that offer is just kind of too good to turn down.
You are the second most powerful man in the realm.
Basically the first, like, really.
Essentially.
Like, with Ned would be the king. Like, that's, you don't like, and it's like your friend too. It's like, hey, come rule the kingdom with me. Yeah, come rule the kingdom with me. Yeah, you'll do all the hard work and I'll be having all the fun. But, like, I'm the king, so, like, I get that. Man. You know, like, it makes sense. But yeah, can't really turn that down.
No, you can't. I can't blame him. I can't blame him for accepting. You know, but the next morning, Ned and Robert are going hunting, leaving the castle largely empty. And in this in this, Bran decides, nobody's here. It's time to climb. And Ned and Bran exchange one last look because Ned's gone by the time Bran wakes up. But before they take off, Ned looks at Bran, gives him a little nod and a smile, and Bran nods and smiles back. Then they head off, and it's like, see, like, that's why rewatches are enriching, because, like, I didn't notice that the first time I watched this, you know, I didn't, like, it was just like, oh, yeah, he's saying bye to his son. You know, like, now it's like, that's like, the last time Ned sees his son awake.
Is that the last time Bran sees him? Ever?
Yes,
like,
that's the last time Bran ever sees his dad.
Yeah, ever. Because Arya and Sansa
go south.
They actually see him die.
Well, Sansa does. Arya's
in the crowd, isn't? Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
She actually. Okay, fair.
She gets protected.
She knows. I guess she knows it happened though.
She can hear the.
But dang, yeah. This it's such a crazy how the show is already so good without all the knowledge of all these little connected things, but like with it just enhances it even more.
It just gets better and better.
Like, dude.
God. But yeah. So Bran decides to go climbing, and he decides to climb the broken tower, and he hears some strange sounds coming from above.
Someone must need help.
Let me check out what's going on up here. He peers through the window and finds a man, Jaime Lannister, having sex with a woman. He's like, oh, okay, wow, that's crazy. I've never seen sex before. Dope. And then the woman flips her hair up, and it is his sister. And he's like, oh, no! He's like, what the fuck? And Cersei tells Jaime to stop. He goes and grabs Bran. Jaime looks out the window to make sure nobody else is watching, and he asks, how old are you? Bran goes, 10. He's like, man. He looks back at Cersei, and she goes, he saw us. He's like, you could tell for like half a second he thought about it. For like half a second he was like, God, really shouldn't do that. Well, the things I do for love. Shoves Bran out the window. He sends himself a tumbling. And we end the first episode of Game of Thrones. Winter is coming.
Boom. I don't know. I remember the first time I watched this. It's always... I never expect a TV show or movie to kill a kid. And I know Bran doesn't die here, but it's
still a brutal act.
It is implied that, like, oh, this is a 10-year-old kid. He's probably dead. Like, this kid is probably dead. And, like, it's just, I don't know. I remember being, even though this is, like, such a small shock factor, like, such a small shock in the grand scheme of Game of Thrones, like Bran being pushed out. But I remember how shocked I was, like, when I watched this for the first time. Like, I was like, no! And it's like a kid I met an hour ago. Literally, you know? Like, I don't know. It's just such a good... like, a premiere that introduced so many characters and actually got you to, like, somewhat be interested in knowing like them. Yeah, like man, have you decided on a performance yet between your three?
I think I gotta go Sean Bean as Ned Stark. I don't think I can confidently go either other way, you know. I think Emilia Clarke also provides a great deal of range, but the character we come to know in this episode of television is just so true to what he remains through this first season. Like, he encapsulated that character perfectly, and for the run that we have Ned Stark in the show, he is this guy, you know. And he's presented fucking brilliantly. I think there's only one guy that could have played him, and you know, I don't know that I can confidently say that for Robert Baratheon. I can probably also confidently say nobody else could have played Daenerys Targaryen besides Emilia Clarke. But since you already got her, I'm gonna go ahead and go Sean Bean as Ned Stark. I fucking love that performance.
I think we got some good. The representation here is pretty spread out because I got Robert's arrival to Winterfell, and a Robert line. So we got some Robert recognition here, and Ned's getting his fair share. You got the character, the performance, and the line for you. It's Ned Stark.
Encapsulates this whole fucking thing, like how am I not?
And the feast for your scene, yeah. I mean, and we got a Lannister, so we got a Lannister, a Targaryen, a Stark, and a Baratheon. Wow, we got everyone.
Look at that.
All the major families, at least, pretty much. I was thinking about like maybe Jorah Mormont as like a character, but I'm like that's too early.
Got a lot better episodes.
It's for the implication that I would like put him. Yeah. So like for the episode, Tyrion is what I will go with.
Tyrion's fucking brilliant. I think that if I had to go with like a second place, I probably would go Tyrion.
Yeah, because the conversation he actually has with Jon, like wear it like armor, and then it can't affect you, and then I don't know, like he actually has some good line, and just the thronesiness of his character.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm also thinking a little bit forward because next episode, the interactions between Jon and Tyrion are fucking amazing. So I'm kind of holding off on picking them for shit until next week. But yeah, man, it was such a great fucking place to start the Game of Thrones rewatch. Winter is Blooming.
Ooh, I might put Khal Drogo for the character because literally it's like a Darth Maul. It is like instantaneously, that dude means business. Like they did not even have to say the whole ponytail, the hair being long. Like they did not have to say any of that to know that dude is badass.
See, I'm thinking forward to other Khal Drogo stuff too, and I'm thinking I can't not pick Ned for the first episode of Game of Thrones.
I know. I'm trying. I really want to make sure that Tyrion is my pick here before I move on, because it's not Jon yet. It's not Robb yet.
No,
it's not Arya or Sansa.
Made the right choice.
It's not Jaime, not Cersei. Not
the only other one that I think could give him a run is Bran.
Yeah.
I think Bran's a fun character in this episode.
I'm good. I'm good with Tyrion.
All right, cool.
I'm rest assured.
Rest easy, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
But now it is time for a rating. We got enjoyment, genre, and critical rating. Let's start with enjoyment. Out of 10, can this be any lower than a 10? Do you think?
No. This is interesting. Is like there's not anything truly crazy that's happening on screen at all. It's just conversation. But I am so intrigued. That's the crazy thing about it, is that
what is interesting too is this is one of our first ratings as a rewatch for episodes of television. We don't do a lot of rewatching for TV show ratings. It's usually brand new, first time we're watching it. I think I can confidently say that this getting a 10 is probably because I know where all these characters go, and I think that's important, we should rate it as though it's a rewatch, like we are rewatching it. So I do think that because I see all these characters in the same place at the same time, it just makes me happy to see all them together. The events are so classic now. I remember this story pretty much beat by beat in the first episode, just because it's so classic and such an amazing start to an amazing series. So I think I got to go 10 out of 10 enjoyment. I think that in the coming episodes in season 1, we'll probably find ourselves dipping a little bit below that, just because, I think of like my favorite episodes of Game of Thrones ever. And, what I consider 10 out of 10 episodes, I truly don't know if there is another one in this season. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. We shall see. But 10 out of 10 enjoyment. I think I got to go here. Genre, fantasy-wise, fantasy Game of Thrones, pretty damn strong. Pretty damn strong.
I guess fantasy-wise, we get White Walkers to start. We get some dragon eggs. I guess it's cool little lore there.
Yeah, we get the Dothraki, a whole other people who are just sick and twisted.
Direwolf.
A direwolf. We get the king visiting, a new hand of the king. I think it's pretty good, but I do think we reach higher heights fantasy wise.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I was right around an 8 too. I was like 7 too low, 9 too high.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of 8 is where I was chilling. Okay.
Critically, how are we feeling about this? I'm pretty high on it. I think that it's incredibly well acted, very well written. I do think it's finding its style. I don't think this episode looks exactly the same as the show looks later on. It kind of still finding its footing, I'm pretty damn high on it though, because it was such an emphatic premiere. The introduction to these characters, the ending is so strong. It's such a great launching off point for the story. I think they picked the exact right time to introduce us to these characters, So
I'm trying to think compared to like just a normal show. Like I'm thinking of Andor in the season premiere. Like how many characters were introduced in that episode? Like is it really? I guess that's the difference. Is that maybe the number of characters introduced isn't different, but at least the number of major characters who have actual huge storylines throughout the entire show is bigger here. Like every character we see on screen is, I mean, wow. Yeah, literally the only characters that we see on screen that aren't huge are like Rickon, the Maester.
Like that's kind of it, bro. Like everyone's got a big role to play at some point. Like it's fucking nuts. And I think they did such a great job of introducing us to every character, letting us get to know them very succinctly and quickly. Like we don't spend a lot of time with Sansa, but I know exactly who she is after this first episode. Same with Arya, and like we spend the most time of the kids with Bran, which I think is cool. Bran, Jon. And I mean, even Rob, we don't spend that much time with Rob, and we know who Rob is. It's really cool. I think they did such a great job of setting up these characters. I again don't find myself like this is not a perfect episode of television. It's a great episode of television. Find myself probably around an 8.5 ish.
Wow. That's where I was thinking in my mind. I was like, I'd say 8 would be the floor. Because I was trying to like the story, like for a pilot episode.
Fucking brilliant.
Like it is nuts that like we got this much story and like actually like intriguing story at that. I guess I do know these characters and I do know all of this, where they go and stuff like that. That does add to it. But I mean, I don't know. I guess when I watched this for the first time, I wasn't confused. Like, I wasn't confused. No. I didn't know everyone's name. That was the hardest part about the show at the beginning.
There's just so many characters that you meet.
But now, like, having everyone's name be kind of second. Like, I pretty much know everyone's name in this episode for sure. Maybe not the Maester Lewin, maybe?
Lewin. Yep,
okay,
right.
So there I go. There's one guy, the beard guy that has it tied together.
Yeah, Sir Roderick.
There I go. Yeah, there's a character I wouldn't know the name of off secondhand, but it is interesting. Like I guess critically, the rewatch doesn't really matter here, though, right? This is like critically should be taken like in a vacuum, just how it is, and I think 8.5 is fair.
All right. What's that What's that
averages
round
it
there?
out an 88.3 or 8.83. So around an 88. Wow. IMDb gives it an 8.9 out of 10.
All right, so we were a little
for the episode.
bit harsher. That
Look at
doesn't
that.
happen often.
No.
And I think that's something that I'm trying to rein in our, because I think in our 10-point scale, we've fallen into the same thing we did with the 5-point scale, where we are now rating everything in the 9s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know, 85 is still fucking great. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm trying to rein that in a little bit. And I think an 88% for this episode of television.
So I guess as this critically made, only one episode of House of the Dragon is worse, and it's episode 2, critically. And honestly, though, critically, House of the Dragon is better made than this episode.
Oh yeah,
I think that is actually fair. Like it's not like we're starting to be more harsh now. I think like the House of the Dragon critic scores actually kind of like it does. They do belong up in the 9s. Like,
yeah, like it's crazy. They do a crazy job with that. And like the gripe I have with this episode is that Game of Thrones hasn't found its style yet. House of the Dragon's the first spin-off series where they've had 8 seasons of honing in that style and can finally do it in the most grandiose way they've ever done. So like I think those are fair. I think it's absolutely fair. But yeah, so that brings it to an 88% on the old Penny Bloom rating scale, which is a damn good episode of television. Any parting thoughts before we...
Yeah, well, I was about to be like, well, any predictions you want to make? And it's like, well, can't really do that with that one.
All right, well, I'm predicting that Jon's a Targaryen, Bran's going to end up on the throne, Daenerys is going to lose her shit one day, and, there's going to be a character named the Night King at some point. Arya's going to kill him.
That's a pretty good prediction that you made just there. There was one character that was on screen for a little bit. He didn't even have a line. I'm going to predict his name is Hodor, and his name actually randomly comes from a traumatic experience of him trying to hold the door closed in the future. Randomly for some reason that just came to me.
I see how you got hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, hold door. I get you. I see where that's coming from. Yeah. Okay, that's bold, but I like it. All right. Well, then I guess that concludes the first episode of Winter is Blooming. We will be back for episode 2 next week, and we'll be back every Monday after that for Winter is Blooming. If you would, head to patreon.com/CoRoBloom, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including book and comic book reviews, some movie reviews, a bunch of shit over there. Please go check that out. For the small price of $3 a month, you can help out the podcast like crazy. Cost me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there at patreon.com/CoRoBloom, CoRoBloom. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast if you're fucking with me and Joe. We are currently covering Andor on Wednesdays for the next few weeks. The Andor after party continues. We got 9, 10, 11, and 12 left. Only 4 weeks of Andor left. Catch up with that. Catch up with us. Listen to the Andor after party. We also got the 52-year journey through film going on. Last Friday was The Wolf of Wall Street for 2013. This Friday is 2014, and 2014 is a classic and Interstellar. That's what we're covering this Friday, so go ahead and check that out. I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. Remember, peace, love, and bloom. And when I fight a man for real, I don't want him to know what I can do.